Well, folks, thanks so much for tuning in again to Day-to-Day News and giving you the news that's happening right now, but also giving you behind the scene what's actually driving some of the news. I'm sad to say we are continued to be headlined by that horrendous event in Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia. Children being killed, adults being killed at that school. And one thing that is bothering many people is that some media outlets, and to a degree, even the Canada's National Police Force, still is using an unscientific and biologically wrong term. They're referring to the shooter as she. They're referring to the shooter as female instead of simply saying, and I believe RCMP is finally starting to post it, that they're saying biologically born. Actually, they use this wild designation. They say assigned at birth, the gender assigned at birth. Folks, let me tell you, I shouldn't have to say this, but if you are born with a penis and testicles and you have your chromosomes aligned to be male, you are male. It's not something you were assigned. You were born male. And it shows the horrific degree to which we have departed from common sense and intelligence and science, that we use terms, and CBC in Canada uses terms like assigned at birth, or the RCMP. It's frightful. And we're getting lots of commentary now back from the fact that because the RCMP is taking a politically correct line, even when they first made the announcements, they talk about the shooter being a person, a woman in a dress and had long hair. Now, if the person hadn't been and tragically shot and killed, they would be on the run. Police would be looking for a woman, not a man. All kinds of ramifications of this. If this does not go changed, if they do not say or put some kind of asterisk in this when this crime is filed in the reporting crime files for the year, then we will have the unenviable position as a country as saying Canada's biggest mass murder was committed by a woman. And that is grossly in error. I could tell you too, having been head of the RCMP as Minister of Public Safety, that type of language would not have happened on my watch. I can also tell you that I want to commend the front line, the men and women in uniform of the RCMP have not been exposed to years of woke ideology like many of the senior officers have. And on this particular scene and on this crime, they responded within 120 seconds of the announcement of that shooting. They rushed to the scene and they took fire themselves. They made a point of engaging with the shooter, which is the modern way of doing it now. You don't, as in a decade or two ago, surround the area, lock everything down and hope that the shooter, dies of starvation. You have to engage quickly to reduce death. So congratulations to the men and women on the front line, and shame on you officers. Many of you, I know you in the senior ranks. You're good people. You've committed your lives to the RCMP. Stop swallowing this garbage about gender ideology. You know that person was born male. You should have said that from the start. So I don't want to be too tough on the former force that I served because they're great people, but I wish they would just follow the truth and not what the CBC or some of their senior rank and file are saying. So along those lines, really it comes back down to the thing, public safety has to come before so-called gender affirmation. And this is one of the worst tragedies in Canadian history. Let's tell the truth about it. Let's not give misleading information that will find its way into statistics and will skew the evidence and will skew the approach to policing on issues like this. Well, talking about another item that just continues to get big headlines, sorry, but we have to deal with it, and that's Jeffrey Epstein, still big in the news. Canadians being found in some of his files, the fact that Jeffrey Epstein came to Canada, and there's a good old taxpayer-funded CBC not seeming to be interested in that at all. What was he doing in Canada? How did he get into Canada? Because this was after he had been convicted of sex crimes with minors. And so, where is the investigative journalism, at least on in the big taxpayer-funded agencies like the CBC? Recent photos show Axel Dumas, one of the wealthiest people, one of the wealthiest financiers in Europe, is in pictures with Epstein. Woody Allen, of course, nobody's surprised about that. But Dumas is saying, no, he crashed the party that I was at. He may have done that. And just because somebody's name is in that file along with thousands, if not millions of others, doesn't mean they're guilty of something. This man, we know, Epstein, had a wicked and evil way of showing up in people's lives. The other thing that isn't being investigated, almost totally ignored, page after page, thousands of pages, showing how central Epstein was, to the World Economic Forum, to the discussions about so-called global warming and climate change, and to discussions on how you tie all the banks in together, having one digital currency, and you punish those banks who are not pursuing the global climate agenda. Epstein's name is in the midst of the climate and the financing discussions. Hello, media, please, are you so enslaved to your position about the fact that the world is going to, burn up in a ball of fire, that you can't tell the truth about Epstein? What influence did he have there? What strings was he pulling? Why were all those people, top financiers, flying to his island? Maybe it was legit. Maybe it was discussing this global financing plan that he was right in the middle of it. Well, CNN is reporting that a fairly well-known person, Catherine Remler, who was a White House counsel under former President Barack Obama. Now, it was a definite point of interest for Jeffrey Epstein. He communicated with her after she left the White House. We don't have the information on while she was at the White House, but again, I credit CNN, which is usually, a big fan of mainstream media reporting, and credit them for showing that here, one of the top lawyers at Goldman Sachs meeting with Jeffrey Epstein, and we're not saying just once. So again, Epstein's involvement in global financing, why isn't it being talked about more? It's an incredible thing. Well, on the front related to what's happening in Iran, sometimes the market itself sends signals that maybe, just maybe, things might be settling down a bit. This week is the first back-to-back weekly decline in the price of oil. This is the global price. First back-to-back weekly decline. That says that the world is not expecting a giant war, which would require stockpiling untold amounts of oil and gas. And so the markets are signaling that maybe things are tempering down a bit in terms of a massive war breaking out relative to Iran. I talked to you a few days ago about information that I had that there was about 100 C-17, these are large transport and troop-carrying aircraft, have been sent to the Middle East. Maybe that was enough to cause the mullahs to think twice, but we'll see if oil signals a price that things may be calming down just a bit. Well, on the economic front, that's going to affect you in the grocery store, China has made it very clear that they are expanding their credit capabilities. Credit expansion in China moving up. That means they're worried about their economy. They want people spending more. They're borrowing more money, and that is going to mean more inflation in China. It's going to affect things we buy, but they are clearly panicked about their own economy. Compare that with what's happening in Japan now. A big story out today. Japan and their female new prime minister, who gets very little coverage because she's small c conservative, but she's doing some great things. She's talking about economic normalization. She wants to bring Japan's economy back under control. She's meeting with the equivalent of what is their Fed, and she is going to be talking about taking steps to, in fact, rein in all of the government borrowing, starting to ramp it down. That's a positive message. Not an easy thing to do politically. Once again, we see a world leader who is a woman doing the brave things while the men stand back and cower and don't do the things that are necessary. So let's see where that goes as far as Japan and what may happen there. They're still talking about the Super Bowl, and I want to get away from Bad Bunny. We've talked about him enough, but there's some serious analysis going on for those of you Super Bowl fans, and for you women out there who want to be seen as in the know on this. You can make the comment that there's a real focus now on the fact that defense wins championships. Defense wins championships. Is the era of the electric and always magnificent Tom Brady as quarterback who 10 times in the Super Bowl and winning them 7 times, is that era fading? Because Seattle's defense absolutely dominated, absolutely shredded their opponents. So watch for that. Watch for more coaches and managers looking at defense. Could make for a little more boring game, but it could lead to wins also. Well, a coalition of Jewish and Christian organizations in the U.S., and I think it's fair to say, we look down the list, these would be called more on the liberal line, are getting together and arguing that the so-called ICE raids near places of worship undermine religious ministries. So it's kind of a different tack to take, that where the law is being enforced, if it's in and around their areas, they don't like it. Clearly, there have been some concerns related to ICE, so you're getting that noise in the background there. Concerns related to ICE, but this debate is going to rage on for a while. U.S. Department of Health is doing something very interesting. They are now designating, and they say they want to hear from faith-based organizations who are applying for federal funding aimed at addiction recovery programs, because they're just going science-based now. Government finally starting to smarten up a bit, and they're seeing that the faith-based programs on recovery, though they're not 100% perfect, are yielding better results than those that don't implement faith into their programs. And so the U.S., not being afraid and terrified of faith-based stuff, they are going to be funding more of those programs. Sorry, we're trying to deal with that noise in the background here. Just 3 more minutes. The other thing that's very interesting to note is what's going on in college campuses. I'm broadcasting from Florida here, and just over this weekend in Florida at the University of Florida. This is not University of Florida. This is not a faith-based institution. Huge, being called revival moments taking place. Large meetings, thousands of students, and hundreds, if not thousands, coming to faith and getting baptized on these secular universities. So let's keep an eye on that. No telling where the ongoing articulation and advancement of faith is going to take it. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Thanks for putting up with a little background noise there. We will catch you tomorrow. Bye now.